Okay, today we're going to take our demo page that we made, which was an empty page, and add some items to it so that we can see how to get a text box and use our CK editor along with it. Okay, so here's our empty demo page, and first thing I'm going to do is put a title on it. Okay, so now it's got a title. And for every control that we put on the page, I'll just put first an input control right now, which will be a text box. Notice that it comes up with an error on it because we don't have it associated with a variable. Now we have no variables in this screen at all, and that's a problem that we'd have to resolve with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a local variable, which I'm going to call text entered. It doesn't matter really what you call it, but I'm just going to make a variable that'll hold whatever we're going to put in that text box. And notice it defaults to the data type text. If we wanted to change that data type, we can choose any of the standard ones, or if we go into the data type editor, we can see all of them here. So we could make it an element in one of our entities because they're down here. But this is only a text one, so we're just going to leave it at text. Okay. And now we can go back to the properties of our text box and tell it that it's associated with text entered. So anything that the user enters there is going to be put into the variable called text entered. Okay, I want this to be a long text field, so I'm going to change the maximum length to 5,000. Okay, and I'm going to make my text lines 50 lines so that I can see. Actually, I'm going to make it a little shorter than that so it fits on the screen. So let's make it 30 lines. Okay, and I'm going to stretch it to nice and wide here. So I'm going to leave all the other properties the same. Okay, and now I'm going to associate it with my CKEditor. So I'm going to search over here in my controls, and you can see I have a CKEditor add-on right here, which I'm going to just drag right over here. Now the way this works is it associates the functionality in the CKEditor with an input ID. This input ID is the same thing as the HTML input property ID, and in OutSystems the IDs are not set to a specific value unless you choose that value in here. Otherwise, the OutSystems, when it compiles it, it just gives it its own name, and we wouldn't know what it was. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my text box here, and notice it has a name. This is going to become the ID of the value. So if you're familiar with ASP.NET programming, this would be your object ID that you can refer to in your script language. Okay, so we're going to call this, I'm just going to call it rich text box. So now when I go back to this one, and notice we have a compile error because we don't have an input ID on it, I will be able to see I have rich text box.id. So that's a variable that OutSystem uses to connect the functionality of this to the functionality of the text box. So that's it on this. We should be able to compile this and see where that goes. So basically, if you have more than one text box on the screen and you want to be able to edit it and have formatting just like you would with a rich text editor, you would have to have one of these little CKEdit controls for every text box that you have. Okay, so now when I go and run my screen and I choose demo page, now I have a rich text editor that's associated with this text box. Because I didn't add any other actions to the screen or any buttons or any data interface, this is all there is here. So I can't really do a lot with this because it's just a local variable within this screen. But that's how to implement this with a text box.